Welcome to the No More Late Fees podcast. I'm Jackie.
And I'm Danielle, and we're just two best friends and ex-Blockbuster employees rewatching some of the best and worst movies from the late 90s and early 2000s. This week, we are joined by the lovely Laura, and we are going galactical and doing The Fifth Element. Thank you, Laura, for joining us. We're super excited.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And if you missed our wonderful teaser episode, I couldn't even get words out, sorry. You need to go check it out. Stop, pause, go back, go listen, and find out who Laura is, because I'm not going to give you a hint. You got to go back and listen.
She's a mystery.
I'm an enigma.
Jackie, why don't you tell us a little bit about The Fifth Element?
The Fifth Element is a 1997 science fiction action film set in the 23rd century. The film's central plot involves the survival of planet Earth, which becomes the responsibility of Korben Dallas, a taxicab driver and former Special Forces major, after a young woman falls into his cab. To accomplish this, Dallas joins forces with her to recover 4 mythical stones essential for the defense of Earth against the impending attack of a malevolent cosmic entity. It stars Bruce Willis, Milla Jovovich, Gary Oldman, and Chris Tucker. It's written by Luc Besson and Robert Mark Kamen, and it was also directed by the director.
I just want to preface that this is a classic. We wanted to support the movie, and unfortunately, I know I found some things out about the director that were concerning. He is the director of The Professional, and so we'll try not to go on like a crazy rant about him being a poo-poo face, just to keep it on the movie. But we do not support him.
No, but we support Korben Dallas Multipass.
Yes.
And it is available to rent on Amazon Prime. But before we start, let's get into our ratings rewind.
So you know the drill. Before we get into the movie, we'll reveal the rating our Y2K versions of ourselves would give. Then at the end, we'll see if our current selves agree with our initial rating. Our scale consists of would buy it again.
The best, would play on repeat.
5-day rental.
Would watch again.
2-day rental.
Okay, but nothing to write home about.
And same-day rental.
That's some cosmic ass trash.
So we're going to start with you, Laura. What is your Y2K rating?
Okay, so I had this conversation with my dad and my brother, and I was like, I don't remember how this movie came into my life. It wasn't something I actively wanted to go see. So Y2K Laura is going to give it a 5-day rental.
Okay. Jackie?
So Y2K Jackie never watched this movie. Shockingly.
Not surprised. There is this gap. We don't know when it ends. I don't even know when it begins, but there's some quality ass movies in between that Jackie just, it's like, I don't know.
Well, and the funny thing is, Miss Terry and my brother Johnny like watched it all the time. They would always talk about Fifth Element. And to me, it's like space, man, like can take it or leave it. Like if it wasn't Star Trek at the time, I had no use for any sci-fi except for Gattaca, but we'll get there one day. So yeah, I just had no interest in watching it. But once I watched it after I started dating Ken, quickly became a favorite. So yeah.
Y2K Danielle, 5-day rental, watched it. It would come on HBO a lot. And I don't think I really knew what the hell was going on, but I watched it a lot.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know, like
yes.
To this day, I think I still don't understand what I'm watching.
Are we going to get into that as we talk about the movie?
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of confusion on my part. Yeah.
Fair. Why don't you tell us about the box office, Danielle?
Sure. One thing that wasn't confusing was the fact that people went to see this movie. The budget for this movie was $90 million, and it grossed $263.9 million worldwide. The movie was the most expensive European film ever made at the time of its release. And the director admitted that he never thought the film would be so divisive. The response in the US was at the time very deceptive for me. The film was probably too ahead of its time. The film did $70 million at the box office. We opened at number 1, but I went to a couple of cities in the middle of America where I saw people leaving in the middle of the screening saying, "What the fuck is this thing?"
I have an answer for you, director. And the answer is Bruce Willis. That is why people went to see this fucking movie.
The answer is Bruce Willis in a tank top.
Yeah.
The answer is Milla was half naked in duct tape.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
And then Chris Tucker. Like,
come on.
So
what's not to love?
So here's the thing. If this movie had come out maybe like now, I could see it doing really well. But at that time, I'm actually surprised because it has all the elements of an art house film, but it is like a big budget film. So, it is very artsy, outside of the box. Even this character, even Chris Tucker's character was way ahead of his time.
Yes.
And having a female being able to hold her own, there's, it just was not what was happening at that time.
For 1997, that's a big deal.
Yeah, where the protagonist was a female. She was the one that was driving the movie. And then the males in the movie were kind of just the supporting roles, which unheard of.
Yeah. I think the few times that they tried to do that previously, The Long Kiss Goodnight, which so many people missed out on, and it flopped when it shouldn't. It was an amazing movie. And Gina Davis, I think it was probably hurt by the fact that Cutthroat Island movie, I think she did, which was really bad. I think if that had done better, maybe this wouldn't have been as a surprise. But yeah, we had a few action female leads and they didn't always crush it at theaters, unfortunately. So glad this one did well though.
Yeah.
For the cast.
And it really launched Milla Jovovich's career. I think prior to this, she had only done Dazed and Confused, or maybe had some other small minor roles, but
and modeling at the time too.
Yeah, she was also a model. Yep.
Yeah, she was young in this movie too. I think, what was she, like 21?
I thought she was 19.
Wow.
Oh, well, that makes sense because her and the director ended up getting together and married. So I'm not surprised.
Oh.
I believe she was 19. I'll double check that though. I
think she was 21 by the time they got married. So I think they started at 19. And
wow.
Yeah. So where do we start? I remember Luke Perry.
I have in my notes that we see lots of stars or meteors going through the sky as the credits roll. But we're in a galaxy. We see just like this looming shot of a spaceship just like floating in space. And then it cuts to...
Is it Egypt?
Yes, in 1914.
Yes, Egypt.
And then you see child labor.
Aziz, life.
Ken and I yell that at each other all the time. Like if
I do the same.
And my favorite is to wait till he gets all the way into the bed. And then I'm like, Aziz, light. He's like, God damn it. And he has to get up and turn the lights off. I'm like,
that was a very evil laugh, and you should stop torturing your husband, Jackie.
Luc Perry is tallying how many times Aziz gets yelled at.
Aziz, light. So so over it.
It made me a little sad because I totally forgot he was in this movie. And then he was on the screen and I'm just like, oh
Every time I see the movie, I'm like, it's Luke Perry. Like every time.
It's brand new every time.
It is. 'Cause I'll see the credits and I'll see it's Luke Perry. And I'm like, where was Luke Perry in this? And there he is as Billy. And I'm like, oh, there he is.
He did this a lot. Like at this time, he was at like the height of his career with 90210 or whatever. Or maybe this is when he ventured to try to go do movies. But like you see him just pop up in these random movies and you're just like, huh.
There you are.
A little surprise every time.
Yeah. So the priest is, I guess he's trying to decipher some hieroglyphics that are on the wall.
He's very excited.
Yeah,
he's so hype.
This is like the discovery of a century. That's
He's
how
got his little brush and he's dusting off the hieroglyphics and he's like, Billy, look at this.
And he's so enthralled in this that he has no idea that there is a clothed man lurking around the corner watching his moves
in the shadows.
And you're just trying to figure out like what's happening here. Does he not want him to make the discovery of a century? It's weird. And he's ready to sabotage some shit.
Yep.
Yeah. I was gonna say that I don't know why this really amused me. Like when the priest like runs into one of the kids, because like one of the kids is like looking from behind the wall, and then the priest kind of like shows up and surprises him. And he tells the kid, go with God, be safe from evil. And I was like, I love that. Like, can we switch that from the Catholic peace be with you? Like, if we could just start saying that, like, I think.
Or if the Catholic priest would do that instead of, doing other things with the poor
Send the children away.
Yes.
Send the children away.
Be at peace away from me.
Yes.
Thank
be
you.
safe from evil and be away. Yeah, I don't know why. I liked it enough to put it in my notes, and I was just like, go with God, be safe from evil.
So he deciphers the hieroglyphics, and essentially it's every 5,000 years when 3 planets are in eclipse, a black hole of evil comes about. And have you guys seen the Marie Callender's burnt pie?
No.
Yes, on Facebook.
That's what the black hole looks like, is the Marie Callender's burnt pie.
I have a lot of questions about the great evil, and we'll go into it.
Yes.
100%
throughout the movie. Like just so many questions.
Because I have questions. During the movie, I just kept saying, Danielle is confused.
I mean, to be fair, you're confused a
No,
lot.
No, I'm not normally confused. I just don't remember. There's a difference. This is confusing shit. The math ain't mathing in this movie.
So my next note is not Obi-Wan Kenobi takes the water that is poisoned.
And then he's like, you cannot toast with water, and just like, go get
Tosses
us a
it.
drink. Yeah. And the priest
It's
is
the
like,
fucking desert.
he's like, why are you do, man? He's like, just tossing my poison water to the side.
It was very Emperor's New Groove. Like, trying to poison someone and your plan is foiled. And then he also deciphers in the hieroglyphics water, fire, earth, air around a fifth element.
Ooh. They didn't teach us that in Avatar: The New Airbender. And then like because he's not able to poison the guy fast enough, then this fucking ship comes,
This giant spaceship.
huge ship. And I don't know how to describe the physicality of the alien. I don't know if he looks like a Ninja Turtle in a robot, like the roundness.
I describe them as metal armadillos.
Yes. And I hate armadillos.
So I described the Mondoshi ones as metal duck platypus things. Like when the doors of the spaceship open and then they're waddling out down the ramp.
They do have a very lovely waddle.
It's a very distinct.
So, Laura, can you explain why these aliens who have dedicated their life to making sure that the fifth element stays a secret and it's only in certain hands, why they get so like, are they afraid that this archaeologist guy is going to talk about it and then other people will know there's a fifth element? Is the fifth element because we learn it's a weapon to stop the dark calendar pie?
Marie Calendar Pie.
Yeah. Are they just trying to protect a secret so no one knows about it?
The way I understood it when I was watching again, because this was the first time I watched it with subtitles. So it was like I was actually reading, I was getting a little more insight. So the way I understood it is they were like, shit's about to get real. And we just want to make sure that it's safe. Like, we just want to make sure that the fifth element is safe. And that's why the priest is like, you can't leave us empty handed. What are we going to do? How are we going to defend ourselves? And that's when they make the promise, like, in 5,000 years, we're going to be back. So it almost like they just wanted to be like extra sure that she, or it at the time, because we don't know, is going to be safe. And that way they knew they could bring her back. So that's the way I understood it. They were like, we're feeling a little paranoid about this. Let's make sure she's in our care. But we all know that doesn't go according to plans. No.
And why wouldn't you, much like the Infinity Stones, scatter the elements throughout the galaxy? Why have all of the stones together and then
in
just
a lovely briefcase?
Yes.
Handy dandy briefcase.
His poor management is what it is.
Like,
I don't understand.
So, okay.
We do this every 5,000 years. Together.
So the platypus / armadillo robot alien man,
yes.
he goes into the wall thing, right? Like, he like
inserts his little finger and then the key comes out and then
he has a finger key.
And then it opens.
And for some reason, Luke Perry's character gets real nervous and starts,
he gets real hype.
Yeah, he gets his gun, he gets his gat out, and he's like threatening because that's what men do.
He's a cowboy.
Yeah, I got my notes say Billy is losing his shit.
Yeah, he's losing it. But he's also like a punk because he ain't shot nothing. You doing a lot of talking, but you ain't doing nothing. It's not till Billy falls and trips and pops off and kills the poor armadillo. Is just like,
I think he just like shoots him.
Yeah.
I think he just, and maybe like the wiring, like in my head. And I wrote a very long paragraph of like, how do they function? Are they born? Is it armor? Like, I went on a whole thing, but in my head, they're beings and that's just their armor. And so I think it just got like in between and the wiring was messed up. And then you just see him kind of like fall to the side.
And
we missed the part where the metal armadillos show up and is it the archaeologist turns to it and goes, are you German?
And then he's like, they like shake their head.
So we have identified they may be robots, they may be beings, but they are definitely not
German. Hashtag not German.
Hashtag not German.
So homie gets shot. He like falls back. The wall closes. Somebody grabbed the key.
The priest.
The priest.
He sticks his finger key out of like the Indiana Jones closing wall, and he's like, "You must protect it. The perfect being is going to save us all."
Yeah, because at this point, the other Mondoshi one, they've taken the stones, they've taken the fifth element, they've like walked out of the vault or the chamber.
Gotcha.
And then the priest is freaking out, and he's like, I got it under control, like I'm fine. And he's like, no, you don't. And then Billy shoots him. So the wall starts closing and he's like awkwardly waddling towards the wall as it's closing. I will do this every time.
If he gives the key, why can't he open the wall again?
I don't know. That's one thing I don't know.
Where I was.
Because the priest is like, hurry up, you're running out of time. And then, the Mondoshi one's like, time is not important. Only life is important. And he sticks his little hand out and then gets crushed. So I guess that equals death.
Yeah, that was weird. Some weird shit.
So then they they go back onto the spaceship, and then the priest runs out with the key, and he's like, I will tell the story.
I love how Laura's just gonna reenact the entire thing. And I am here for it.
It's a little embarrassing how well I know this movie.
Then we fast forward lots of years.
300
years. And who do we see next? Because I want to say it's Bruce Willis, but it may be Gary Oldman. I cannot remember.
So
it's every 5,000 years the eclipse happens and the Marie Callender pie shows up. But this is 300 years prior to the 5,000 year event.
Yeah. So my notes say that we're in Space Command, because this is what I was thinking about earlier. It's just like a random like military ship, and they're out there and they're like investigating the Marie Callender burnt pie.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like looming there. And they're like
it's moving pretty fast too.
It's moving fast. They're tracking
and it's growing.
They're trying to take its temperature. They're trying to like, what is this? And they think it's a black hole, but then it starts to morph. And then here's my thing, and I've never understood it, and I'm just going to pose the thought now so we can all ponder on it. Anytime someone interacts with the great evil, with the Marie Callender burnt pie, it's like
chocolate sauce oozes from their head.
Yes. Chocolate sauce from the head. So like ever since I saw this movie, I'm like, why is chocolate sauce dripping from their head? I think it's supposed to be blood, but that is Hershey's like chocolate sauce.
It is chocolate sauce. So I researched because I had the same question. And so some people because everyone's like, it's not blood because he's not bleeding. So what the common theory is that it's the evil seeping out of him, like the great Marie Callender pie in the sky is like drawing the evil out of him if he doesn't do what the pie wants.
Okay.
And we also have to remember that the director started writing this movie or this story at 16. He wrote
I get it.
He started writing it. He never looked at it as being a movie. I think he wanted to make it a book. And then years later, he changed. But this is from a child.
Yeah. So yeah, in my notes, I know like I'm skipping around, but like when I said nobody knows what the orb is, and I think the commander says shoot first and ask questions later, I just wrote how American.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
Can we? Okay, so we're on this ship, right? The Federation. I'm gonna just call it that. I don't know what it is.
I like it.
Yeah.
We got a black president, y'all, and it's Devo. We got Devo as a president. Can we talk about that?
Not mad at it.
And if you don't know, Devo is from Friday. He is the president in this movie. The fact that I have to explain that, I don't even, why are you listening to this podcast?
I never know. But I was going to say something else. Like later on, like, can we talk about how he always gives people very specific times to relay information? Like it happens a few times throughout the movie where he's like, you have 3 seconds to tell me how the world is going to be. And I'm like, why? You're the president. Like you need to hear people out.
I like that the boss is trying to manage his time. I ain't got time for you to be spinning your wheels with it. Take whatever you were going to say and cut that shit in half. I got to move on. At least I'm telling you in advance and not cutting you off. I think it's respectful.
I guess I can see that. And it's, very on brand for him because he continues to do it. Like he just loves giving specific increments.
I love a consistent leader. I love time management. Tell me the faults. I don't see it.
Now we are on the Federation ship thing.
With the president.
The Marie Callender burnt pie is large and in charge, and they're trying to figure shit out. And so now it is 300 years later. So the eclipse is about to happen. And this is when we really could use a heroine to save the day.
Yeah.
Yes. I was going to say that in that section with the president, like you see the young priest and then you get like a zoom in on another priest with a very snazzy belt buckle. And it's the 4 elements. And then he sits down. And in my notes, I just wrote Cornelius. And
the young priest wears a Devo hat from the band Devo.
Yes.
From the Whip It video.
Is it like a fez?
Who knows?
I always thought it was going to be like a space yarmulke. Like that's what it reminded me of.
Let's go with that. I like space
Yeah.
yarmulke.
Yeah,
Like a
100%.
futuristic yarmulke. They try
Federation.
to explain to the president what's going on. Vito's like, hey, I am the contact for the Mondoshiwin. They're supposed to be bringing the weapon back to us.
Right.
And you need to give them passage. And then that's when they get the alert that there's a Mondoshiwin spaceship trying to get clearance.
Right.
So
And they
enter
get attacked by, I don't know what these other aliens are. They're mad. I want to call them the indigenous space invaders, because it seems like they're nomadic because they used to have a place and they've been kicked out.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna say,
the Mangalores, yeah.
yes, yeah. So I'm not mad at them. They're just trying to survive.
They are. I think I skipped ahead because I do remember the next. It's Bruce Willis in his
Yes.
apartment. So my apologies.
No worries. So we're seeing some stuff
We're getting,
happening.
we're getting there.
To everyone in
Yeah.
the 300-year future.
Yeah.
So we do see Bruce Willis. He is in his New York apartment, and it is very utilitarian. Like
Yeah.
everything has like a dual purpose or flips into something else. There is a very cross-eyed cat, which I loved.
Yeah. I was thinking, I was like, oh, you know what? You can tell this is like, it has the like, this is a bachelor's apartment,
Yes.
because it's like empty. He's trying to quit smoking. His life is in shambles. There's no food in the fridge. Like everything's just like rock bottom. This man is alone. Like this is a bachelor's apartment.
And his mother calls a lot.
Oh, his mom just kind of.
Yeah. It just keeps sounding more and more like my life as we continue.
But your house is clean.
Yes. Yes. Thanks, Mom. She came over and cleaned this week.
And I like how even as we're being introduced, or at least I picked up on it like this last watch, because I was actually watching it like not to be in the movie, but to be like, oh, what's going on around? But I like how as we're being introduced to Bruce Willis's character, Korben Dallas, like in the background, there's an ad for Flossed in Paradise and for the giveaway playing on the TV. And it was like featuring Ruby Rod. So it's kind of like already a thing.
Yeah.
It also pans to like an award or something. So you see that he's ex-military and he used to be a major. So it's kind of giving you this backstory of Korben Dallas.
Also, shout out to Bruce Willis's hair. We don't get a lot of movies with his hair.
True.
This is when he still had it.
And
Not
it's
a lot.
Very bleached.
This is probably why he lost the rest after this. Not a smart move.
I was going to say, like later on, can we just talk about the fashion in the movie?
We are
that
going
was a
to.
choice. But I really liked how like an orange tank top was as avant-garde as Bruce Willis was willing to go with like the way everybody else looks.
Yeah.
Like that was his limit.
It's interesting even how he became a part of the movie, because he was not the first choice to play Korben, which I don't know how that's even possible.
I can't even see anyone other than Bruce Willis playing this role.
I know. I'm actually trying to find out who was the other person.
It was Mel Gibson, another
Thank
he
you.
who shall not be named.
So they sent the script over to Mel, and he was just like, yeah, no, I don't get this. I don't vibe with this. This is going to be a hard no.
Yeah.
And I think he saw the renderings of it's actually not Bruce Willis's part. It's the person who's going to play Chris Tucker's role. It was offered to Prince.
Wow.
And Prince actually couldn't see himself doing this role. Now, think about this. Prince, who had an outfit with his ass cheeks out.
Yes, I was about to say, like, he wore something very similar already.
He thought that the costumes, who were designed by Jean-Paul Gaultier, was too feminine for him. Prince thought that. Prince.
Sir.
I'm sorry. What?
Prince, what were you doing in the 80s? Like, come on.
And just think about like we hear about this more now that there are collabs with designers on certain shows and movies now. It's very in the very trendy to do now, but this was way ahead of the time. Like we weren't seeing art collaborations like this on this level. And I mean, the clothes are, you can watch this when you watch this movie now, it is still pretty epic. I would wear some of these clothes if I had the body to put some of them on.
The movie, really, the effects, the clothing, it still holds up to today's standards. It's another one of those movies where it doesn't feel dated, other than that the actors and actresses are 20 years older now.
And we also don't get color like this in movies anymore. I saw this girl on TikTok was talking about this, that there was a shift somewhere after like maybe the early 2000s where we don't get bright lights and rich colors in the way that we used to. And some people say it's because we switched the way that from film to digital, but I don't think that's it. But we got beautiful colors in this time period.
I feel like digital very much would lend itself to bright, vibrant colors like Coco and Encanto, that were like colors used to propel the story.
Yeah. We don't get colors like this, especially during this time, the aesthetic of just like that hot pink, we don't get that. Where are our colors? And let me just say,
it's a very, very warm feeling movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it kind of draws you in, because you just feel nice watching it. Like the colors are soothing. It's not like an Ozark where everything is blue and muted and kind of gloomy. It's very bright and sunny.
Yeah. So we meet Bruce. We're in his tiny apartment, which feels very Japanese in a sense, because they don't have a lot of space. So they have a lot of furniture that's dual usage, which
like
I
multi-purpose.
Think is, yeah.
And then his doorbell rings.
And it's the guy, I don't know what this actor's name is, but I instantly knew that it was the guy from Amelie, and I got really excited. He's a French actor, so it made sense. But I love that movie.
So Bruce Willis looks out the peephole. No one's there. It's just the hallway. So he opens the door, and the guy has a picture of the empty hallway on his head. And he looks up and he's tweaking out of control, has this gun, and he says, give me the cash.
In my notes, I just have give me the cash in all caps, and I wrote nothing else needs to be said. Like what are we doing if we don't know this scene?
And Bruce Willis is so calm in this scene, like he is not fazed by this drug addict crazy
He's
person.
Like giggling at him.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, your safety is on the yellow button. And
do you mind if I just kind of excuse me? And the guy's like shaking, like
had to push the button. And then Bruce Willis disarms him.
He has a bigger gun.
Yes.
Yeah, he just pulls out a row, it's almost like a closet.
Yeah. And he's just like, I'll hold on to this for you. And his little rack with all his like weapons that he's acquired, and just puts it on the guy
shelf. Goes, it's okay. I don't need it. And then does this like dance
jig situation.
It's very Ashley Simpson on SNL.
Yes. Oh my God. Before she does her little hoedown.
Yes.
Like a little shuffle.
So anyway, now the ship with the elements has been attacked by the Gargo demons. How do you say that?
The Mangalores.
Yeah. I don't know why I put Gargo. Oh, because they look like the shit demon from Dogma. Oh, so I just named it that.
I mean, that's fair.
So fair. Their ship is destroyed, and they think there's no survivors. And the priest is very sad. Him and his little priest boy head home.
They're very sad.
Yeah. They're like, huh?
But so when they took everything, the Supreme Being was in a sarcophagus, no?
Yes.
So did she just sneak her little hand out to hold the briefcase and then like the sarcophagus?
She didn't have the briefcase.
I think way before any of this
But
happened.
the hand was holding the briefcase when they like found everything.
But
that's
there
how
was
they
nothing-
had.
Yeah, there was no briefcase. Like the way I remember it, it was like the sarcophagus, like she was posed
Flat.
in a way
Right.
where her arms were just like in that position where it looked like she was holding on to something like a little rod. Like I think that's just the way the sarcophagus was like holding her.
But
It's like I don't think
because
Because
she couldn't have had the briefcase, she couldn't have had the stones, because we know now that the stones were never on the ship.
they were never on Earth. Yeah, and they weren't on the ship. So it like
I know that, but like they had the briefcase to pretend like they still had them. I swear her dismembered hand was holding the briefcase, and I want to know how
She
it
was
got that way.
definitely holding like something. It was almost like
Okay.
a dowel or something. But yeah,
Okay.
like it's almost like her hand was in like a gauntlet and it was like holding on
Yes.
to something. I don't think it was a briefcase though.
Okay.
I mean, and even if it was, it had to be a fake out either way.
Right.
Right.
They were, I mean, if that were the case, this movie would have ended and then
It would have been the end.
goodbye.
And so the scientists on the Federation ship are able to take the hand and rebuild her entire body. And
That's
scene.
a really cool scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love how the one scientist guy was like nerding out about like a normal human body has this, but this body has this. Like,
yeah. She had
whatever,
all
like,
the DNA.
She had all the DNA, and he was like, in essence, it is perfect. You know, and he's just like losing his mind over.
Okay. Can we talk about how many times she is referenced as being perfect in this movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm curious if the writer did that, or if the director says, I need you to say perfect at least 273
times how perfect this being is. I don't know, but it's like it's constantly, because it's like there's one scene where it's like they really did make her perfect. Yes, I know. It's like, okay, like we get it.
She's perfect. She's a supreme being.
Oh my god. Like we get it. And then in my notes I just have in all caps, they 3D print her back to life.
They did 3D print her.
But why didn't they 3D print some clothes?
They gave her thermal bandages.
I don't know
what
to
the
say
problem
her
is.
areolas must have been tiny as fuck to fit under them little bands.
Well, you know, look, the boobies were small, so I'm sure it wasn't that much. I wrote thermal bandages, iconic.
Was it this outfit or a different outfit that Luis wore to our Comic-Con party?
It was the different outfit.
Okay.
It was
the one behind you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And Ken at the same party was the give me the cash guy.
Yes.
I think that had to be explained to me because I was like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah. And then so Luis was Lilu and then I was Korben. So we did a little swap-a-roo.
You guys,
well, I know this line. So then it's like, I don't know who he is. Is he a colonel? Is he a general? Like one of the military guys. He's like, before he was like threatening the scientists, like if this goes south, I have a button that I can push to like end it. And then once you see Lilu and she's like a naked woman, the scientist kind of like shoves his little hand away, like, guess you're not going to push that button. And then he's like, the general, I don't know if he's a colonel. He was like, oh, I'd like to take some pictures for the archives.
So fucking creepy.
Like, pervert.
nasty. And
Sir.
he also said how strong the contraption she was in. He was like, he wanted to make sure she couldn't get out, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. And they
he
were
was
like, oh no,
so
it's
strong.
reinforced.
No,
It's fine.
yeah.
We're good. Solid.
They were in fact not fine.
They were not fine. They were not fine.
They were not fine. So she breaks through the glass. She's freaking out because she doesn't know where the fuck she is. There's all these dudes gawking at her. She's been reanimated.
Yeah.
And she's speaking this foreign language, obviously. And it's actually what they refer to as the divine language.
Mhm.
And it is a fictional language of 400 words, but it was designed by the director and Milla Jovovich. And she was already fluent in 4 languages and was able to give her input and pick it up in no time. So
Yeah.
she learned this made up language for the Fifth Element, which I thought was really cool.
And I read somewhere that they could have like in between takes that she and the director, the writer, they could have
Mhm.
conversations like in the
Mhm.
language.
I'm sure
back
they
and forth.
did.
I'm sure
I'm
they did. If they got
sure
married.
They did.
Yeah. So she's going on. And then this fucking guy, the general, like goes up to her and he starts like banging on the glass and she's losing her mind.
Tell
And
me you don't get vibes of Dudley in the first Harry Potter movie.
Yep.
At the
Wake
snake.
up, you stupid snake.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's like, oh, if you want to be good, you're going to have to work on your communication skills. And he dangles his little badge in front of her. And I'm like, you know what? You deserve everything you get, sir.
100%.
Yeah, he needs to chill. Maybe he'll do that later.
Needs to calm it down. And then of course she like punches a hole through the glass, right? We all know it's fake. I love how you can see the like outline before her hand goes through the thing where it's like, this is gonna break.
It's like,
just always love
punch
that.
here, please.
Just right here in this spot. And she takes the thing and chokes him out. And I'm like, good, get it, girl.
Yeah, so she makes her big escape. It's a whole thing. She goes through walls and shit like it was nobody's business. And everybody, the whole popo, they're all called.
Losing
And
their minds.
she gets outside and she realizes,
Oh hell,
there's no place to go but jump in these cars. And that's what she does. She just dives. Bitch is brave.
I was looking at that scene and it's Jackie's background and I was like, the way she slowly just like leaps in the car.
She's
and
so
I'm like,
graceful.
so graceful, and that scene is still so beautiful. And you can't tell that that's 1997 CGI going on. Like it still looks so like visually stunning, in my opinion.
This movie always reminds me of, like, now that I'm rewatching it, it now reminds me of some of the Doctor Who episodes from when they rebooted it in the 90s. It feels similar, which I love.
Yeah.
And
that's a good comparison.
So she jumps and she falls into Korben's taxi. And okay, here's another question, Laura. What the fuck are these points? Is
points
he
on his
Weight
license?
Watchers?
Points on his license. So earlier, I think he's talking to his friend and his friend is like, you going to bring the cab over? Like, how's your license? And he's like, no, it's good. You know, I'm a great driver. And in my notes, I wrote, like, contrary to popular belief, he's not a great driver because he's like keeps losing points. And so when she hits his vehicle, the cab is like, you've just been in an accident. And so it like deducts points from his license. And when he hits 0, his license is suspended.
So you're telling me in this day and age, and we have all this technology, the damn car could say that you've been in an accident, but we still got motherfucking points and we still driving.
We still
Where's
driving,
the automation?
but we're driving in space.
Nah, this shit don't make no sense.
This is like a really wonderful fever dream. Like it's just a visually aesthetic fever dream.
It's a fever dream with shit that don't make sense. Like you got me here in the sci-fi, right? But you be backtracking with stupid shit. She ain't got no, she's super strong, but she ain't got no clothes. He a taxi driver in space and he's cool, but he got points on his license. Like some of this, come on. It's not making sense. He's a super villain, but he's got Hershey coming out of his head. No.
Chocolate sauce. Yeah. So I had never heard this before, or I guess I never picked up on it, but I was reading the subtitles when the car is like, you've just been in an accident. Bruce Willis says, and I quote, "Yes, I know I had an accident, you daffy bastard."
Yes.
And I was like, I've never comprehended that at all. And I was like, what a weird phrase, you daffy bastard.
So yeah, now Bruce he's all
has this
up.
chick. He has this random chick that doesn't speak English in his car. He's trying to figure it out. He sees that he's very good at de-escalating. It must be his military training because he's like, hey, it's okay. And then we get the bada boom.
Boom, big bada boom. And so I wrote in my notes and I was like, he looks at her, it's love at first sight, like he's done, right? Like it's game over. And then like right when in that scene, Luis, my husband, said, oh man, it's game over. You done fucked up now, Rod. It's like, that's it, you're done.
Yeah, it's love at first sight for him.
For him. And she's just like, I have a mission I need to accomplish, and you're in the way.
I don't know where I am. Everyone's speaking this foreign language to me. I need a fucking priest.
Like I have shit to do.
And he seems kind of detached because he's like, look, you fucked up my car. Popo here now because the police have pulled up. He's like, I'm not getting involved. Take her.
Yeah, he was like, none of my business.
Right.
And she sees a flyer in the back of the cab, and it's like this little girl, and I guess it's for like human trafficking or something. Yeah. And it says, please help me. And she, because she's the divine being, she learns very quickly. So she's like, police. Help.
And she's like looking at him with her like big eyes.
Yeah.
So pathetic, like, help.
I don't know how that's even possible, because if I look at another language that I don't know when it's written, I can't pronounce shit because I don't know what this alphabet is. So how she did that?
Because she's the supreme being. Like, we're just
she's
gonna
the
run
supreme
with that.
being.
Like I took that and I was like, we're gonna run with it. Okay.
2 steps backwards now.
I was like, I have more questions elsewhere that I will let this one slide.
She's a supreme being. She learns fast.
All right.
The plot had to move forward.
It did.
Sure. Okay.
Now, so Bruce Willis decides, fuck it, I'm gonna help her. And so there's this police chase.
I was going to say, and this is just me, I don't know if other people agree, we can let the listeners decide, but I was like, something about Bruce Willis always makes me believe when he's like crushing on a woman. Like when I watch his movies, like I always believe it. And I'm like, well, that's the whole point of acting, Laura, you know, it's to make you believe. But like something about Bruce Willis, I'm like, I buy this instantly.
No, not everyone can pull it off. There are actors who have they have instant chemistry. It's believable because the actors themselves have chemistry. And then there are actors who could have chemistry with a wall. And I like to reference my soap operas because there are some actors on soap operas, because, you know, they're switching partners like every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And the character Kendall in All My Children that was first played by Sarah Michelle Gellar got replaced by another lady. And both those actresses were able, no matter who the fuck they put in their way, were able to have chemistry with everybody. Yeah. I just think that is an acting ability. I don't even know if you can teach it.
Yeah.
And he has it.
The other person that comes to mind is George Clooney. Like every single role he's in, he has a connection with his female counterpart.
Yeah. I think, because some of his counterparts do not have the same with everyone else.
No.
Yeah. I don't know. I just always noticed it. And especially in this movie, because I've seen it so many times, I'm like, man, from the get-go, you see this like, you know, manly man, he's former military, whatever. But instantly, as soon as he meets this woman, he's like, oh, so smitten. And so just like lovey on her. And I'm like, I get it. Like, I believe it.
It feels like you could feel everything from him. I don't like, there's not a point in the movie where I feel like she's really in love with him.
No.
It's super like, especially when we get to the end, I'm like, what the fuck's happening? Because I get it that he's about it. Yeah. I get that. I have some thoughts on the end as well. But yeah.
So she says she needs to find Priest Vito Cornelius. So he takes her, and does she pass out? Is she passed out at this point?
Yes.
So she's so exhausted from the day's events, she passes out. So
she had to go through space. She was in horrific accident. She was reconstructed. Like that's got to take a lot.
She crashed through the ceiling of a cab. She was almost arrested. She had to jump off the side of a building.
She had to learn a new language in like a minute, it's just a lot.
It says she's passed out. He finds the priest and brings him in. And he's like, nobody knows who she is. Like, I don't know her name, but she said your name. And then the priest sees the tattoo.
The tattoo.
Laura.
Oh, yes. Enter my tattoo of the 4 elements that I have on my wrist.
So the same tattoo that Laura has, Lulu Dallas multipass. The priest sees her tattoo, immediately is like, she's the 5th element. And so he starts freaking the fuck out. And his little like apprentice is like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
He's like, are you sure? And he's like, no, I'm sure. David, I am sure. I got it.
Go get my special robe.
I need my dress robes, David.
I'm not even dressed right for this occasion.
Momentous occasion. I've been training my whole life. Yeah. And then we get Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis, man, Korben Dallas, just like looking at Lilu while she's passed out. And this man thinks, I'm going to kiss her without consent. And so he does it.
I'm from NBC, To Catch a Predator, and we're here at the priest's house.
Chris Hansen walks out. He's like, why don't you take a seat? Right there.
But I mean, Lilu handles her shit.
Oh, yes.
Pulls a gun on him.
And then she yells, Seno Octa Gamet at him.
Which means, motherfucker, I will. And you will catch these hands.
Yeah. And she's like, never without my permission. What did I write? Oh, yeah. So when she's like yelling at him, like, Seno Octa Gamet, right? And I just wrote, we love a queen who sets boundaries, right? She's not here for his shenanigans.
It's not even boundaries. A queen who protects herself. What
True.
the fuck?
Who finds her gun, the nearest gun, and says, no, we're going to have words.
I love how later not too long after this, he's like, I shouldn't have tried to kiss her.
Yeah, sir.
It's hard for me to root for him after this. It's hard for me to root for this couple after this, because it's just like, usually in these kind of situations, I call it like the Han Solo effect, where he's too cool of a guy to really show that he has like an attraction for the person, and then shows it later. But it was not this. This was not it.
No,
it was not.
Yeah.
Like he was here for it 100%. And she just couldn't be bothered with him.
You just met me. What the fuck?
Like, I am really important and you're not. And I have things to do.
So after this, Korben goes home.
With his dick between his legs.
As he should. Think about what you did.
Just contemplate.
And we see Lilu is now eating chicken. And it's like the Jetsons, where she puts like this little thing on a plate and puts it in a microwave.
Like little chicken flakes.
Yeah.
A microwave.
And then it's like
a full meal.
A full chicken. And so she's eating her chicken, and she's literally watching the entire Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah. On her little iPad looking thing.
Yeah. So she's just learning all the things.
It's like the scene in Ultron when he's trying to find out what the hell's going on.
Assess everything, and it's just like, here's everything on the internet.
War.
Yeah, war. That
that comes in later. Yeah. Right?
Yes, it does. Yeah. I love the whole scene. I love the back and forth when Vito is asking her, like, but the stones, where are they? And she's like, oh, don't worry about it. Let me tell you the real story. And she goes into this whole thing, how the stones were never on Earth. The Montalci would never really trusted the humans to keep them safe, which is like, same. I wouldn't trust us either.
No.
So she goes into this whole back and forth, but then it like cuts into Zorg and the Mangalores like and we'll talk about that scene because that scene's also great. But I love the editing of it where she's like telling her story, and then it's like, oh, you think the stones are here, but then they're not, and then she's just laughing because she's the truth.
She's very excited about her
She's very
plan.
proud of herself.
And so, and Zorg, who I will call Zurg for the remainder of the movie, he hired the weird shit demon people to go get the stones in exchange for all of this artillery.
Yes, all these like fancy weapons.
Yes.
And he is played by Gary Oldman.
Yes.
Sirius Black.
Yeah. Which I absolutely love him in everything that he does, and he plays villains so well. But what's weird is that he doesn't interact, like he's the villain, but he doesn't ever interact with Bruce Willis.
Not once. And they miss each other by a split second, at the end.
Which actually solidifies the fact that Bruce Willis is not the main character in this movie because he does interact with Lilu.
Yes. Yeah. That's really interesting. I always wondered about Zorg's motivation for helping the great evil. Because it's like, what do you get out of it if all this does is like take life and destroy and then move on? Like, what are you gonna
and make you drip chocolate sauce from your head?
I
from
think
your
it's
little
just
plastic.
I don't think he had a choice. I think it's pure fear. Like
Also, like, how does the great evil reach out to people? Does it have like cell service?
I think it's psychic. It's got to be psychic because
he talks to him in his like brain, right?
It's literally
he
Voldemort.
gets a call.
Oh, he does
there's
get a call.
Scene where his receptionist is like, "You wanted me to let you know if it was Mr. Shadow." Mr. Shadow.
Well, then maybe he has 5G.
He's the OG 5G.
Yes. Yes. It just always confused me, and I'm like, how did this happen? Like, what was that meet cute?
Where is the telephone lines on the pie crust?
And Gary Oldman did the movie as a favor to the director because the director had loaned him money for another movie.
Oh.
He did not read the script and he hates the movie.
Yeah. he when he gets interviewed about the movie, it's just pure confusion. He does not understand why people like this movie. He don't get it. And
yeah.
Every time I watch this movie, I try, and it's a testament to what a good actor he is. I try to see Gary Oldman and I never can. Like, I know that it's him,
right?
But I just cannot see Gary Oldman. It just does not compute in my brain.
It's just him. I wonder, was this the movie? Because I was reading somewhere that Gary Oldman did one movie where like it was hard for him to get his normal accent back, and I thought it was this one because this accent is like, are you Southern? Are you like, what are you? So I wonder if it was this one that made him just kind of like have an identity crisis.
I don't know if it's this one because British people say when it comes to accents, American accents, that the Southern one is not too hard for them. It actually is a lot easier than some of the other ones. So I'm wondering if it is this one or not.
But he also had like, it was almost like a lisp, but like towards the back of his mouth, or he like purposely had a lot of saliva in his mouth.
There was a lot happening with his accent.
Yeah.
Like,
can we talk about the plastic thing on his head?
His little plastic cap.
What is that?
It was to protect him from the pie radiation, and it didn't work.
Maybe it's just fashion, like
it was something. It was something. It looked like he could literally take it off and start scooping stuff or like detergent and putting it into the washer. It was super
my thing
weird.
Is like, how did you get your hair to fit through it? Did you get like a little hook? Like when you got highlights and you would have to get the cap over your head and you had the little hook. Is that the situation?
I wonder if it had to be a wig.
But yes, the
demons are like, here's your briefcase, sir. Where are our weapons? And he opens up the briefcase and Lilu is foiled again. And there are no stones in there. And they're like, you told us to get you the fucking briefcase. Where are our weapons? And does he blow them all up?
No,
Does he honor that?
he gives them the
one
weapon.
case.
He gives them the
Got it.
weapons. Yeah. And then
Okay.
he walks out, but he knows that they're going to be obsessed with that fucking button and they
Mhm.
fuck themselves up.
And then it explodes.
Oh,
Yeah, but
yes.
not all of them, because we end up seeing some of them. a
Some
little
of them
bit later.
survive and
Yeah.
they meet us later on the cruise.
Yes.
And-
Oh, he chokes on a cherry at one point.
Okay, so
Yes.
the priest comes to fuck him up.
Yes.
Yeah, the priest comes over and he's like, you were that art dealer. And then Zorg goes on his little rant about destruction, disorder, and chaos. And he's like, oh, the world needs chaos to survive. And then he takes a cherry and he starts choking. And then he's trying to hit all the buttons on his desk. And like the priest is
What?
like,
What is that thing that comes out?
it's like a little,
Elephant. It's like an elephant, like a
little
pocket elephant.
Anteater guy. you
It
know?
looked like one of the animals from that TV show Dinosaurs. Is that what it's called? Where I'm the mama.
Not the
Oh.
mama.
That one.
Yeah.
That's what it
Yeah.
looked like.
And
I was
then
disturbed.
yeah, and he's like pointing at his back, and the thing's like, hello. And then Vito, being a petty bitch, is like, where's the robot to pat you on the back? So that's what that happens.
Yeah. So I was disturbed by that thing. It haunts me.
And then shortly after this, so does Vito make a deal with him and then he like pops the cherry out? How does he get the cherry out?
He hits him on the back. He kind of gives him a smack, and then Zorg's
Okay.
like, fine, since you saved my life, I'm gonna spare yours for now. And he has his goons carry him out of the office.
Yes. And so then after that, we see Mr. President is being spied upon by a tiny cockroach.
I hate this so much.
Yeah. I don't know what his name is. Gary Oldman's character has gadgets, and he's got a little camera that gets squashed. But I don't think it's Gary Oldman. I think, isn't it? It's one of his lackeys that does it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Also, I just want to give this movie props for the representation. There was a lot of color on the screens, and I don't just mean the cars and the orange hair. It was lots of people of color, and I loved it. Oh, that's all I had to say.
I thought there was going to be more, so
No.
I'll just be quiet then.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
And now we find out, does Lilu say like the blue lady the diva has the stones?
I don't think she says anything. She says there's a person who's going to get her. Okay, yeah, you're right. She does say she has the stones or knows where the stones are. We'll take them
and
to
they're
the
going to
stones.
be on the cruise ship.
Yes.
Yeah, but we don't know it's the diva just yet.
Okay, yeah. So it's Lilu has a contact that knows where the stones are, and they're going to be on the cruiser.
Mhm.
And so Korben has a message when he gets home, and he finds out that he's fired. Then his mother calls
Mhm.
and is like, you're gonna take me on this cruise with you, right? And he's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And she's like, it's all over the news. You won this cruise to
Boston Paradise.
I like to call this section of the movie, Who is Korben Dallas? Because every single person at this point is trying to get on this cruise and
Yes.
take this cruise win from Korben, who has
Yes.
not even applied to be in this contest.
Nope.
So it's suspicious.
but mom wants to go.
Of
Uh,
course.
To go.
And then the general shows up. That's who he is. He's a
General
general.
Monroe. Yes.
Yes.
There it is. On my
So the general shows up and he's like, hey, I hear you heard about the cruise that you won. Well, it's actually a mission to save the world. You with me? And Korben's like, no,
Nah.
I'm
nah.
not. I'm going to stay here. My license is suspended. I don't have anyone to watch my cat. And so then it's like this very comedic like hiding because does the general show up with Lilo? No, it's the
No.
priest shows up with Lilu.
Yes.
So he's hiding them. Then the general shows up. And so like he keeps having to shove people in closets and in beds and
he's,
in the
like,
shower.
talking to the general and
did-
the goons. Well, not the goons, but the other military personnel.
Mhm.
And then Lilu and the priest show up and he's like, oh my
Yeah.
God, this woman, I'm going to marry her, but she hates the military. So he's trying to get them to hide. So they're
Yes.
like,
And he puts them in the fridge, and he puts the fridge
fridge.
is so tight. And then he puts Lilo and the priest into the shower,
and the bed.
And then there's a raid.
There's a raid.
That's the reason why he put Lilo and the priest into those places, because there's a raid, because they're looking for. Are they looking for Korben, or they're looking for
Korben? And Lilu had taken the little nameplate off of his door and like stuck it
on
somewhere
another
else.
door.
Yeah.
Yes. Which, so is she like,
psychic?
does she see the future where she knew like I need to like create a diversion?
I think she just saw a shiny thing.
I think she just saw a shiny thing and was like, I'm just gonna fuck some shit up, and decided to like, go about her business. I was just gonna talk about like one of my favorite lines ever, which is negative. I am a meat popsicle. So that was it. Just wanted to give it acknowledgement.
Yes.
So after the raid, he sets up the neighbor who tried to rob him, to say that he's Korben Dallas.
I think,
or is it a different neighbor?
I think it was a different neighbor, because they like the officers go and they see the door and they're like, oh, it's him. So they knock on it and it's this very like aggressive man that flips them off. And they were like, and Korben's like, wrong answer. And so they take him out and they, arrest him. Well, they're talking and the priest is like, I'm going to save the world. And Korben's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then the priest grabs one of Korben's like awards and knocks him out. And then they steal the tickets.
Yes. So the priest intends to have the younger priest, because apparently age-wise, he looks like more appropriate to be married to
Lilu.
Right. And so they're going to pretend that they're Korben. Korben wakes up and he heads down. The indigenous aliens, they have the ability to morph into humans or look like humans, but it's hard for them. So they're kind of shifty.
Yeah.
They think that Korben has been captured by the Popo.
Yes.
So they're like, oh, we can come and take these tickets. And then the shifty guy that works for Zorg, and he's going to pretend. So everyone's pretending to be Korben. It's pretty interesting.
It's pretty chaotic.
Yeah. But Korben gets to the cruise deck, or before, not the deck, but he gets to where they're about to
port. The gate, yeah.
And he very easily gets rid of young priests. And then they are able to get onto the boat, and then everybody else who comes after is fucked, because
they're like, I'm Korben Dallas. No, I'm Korben Dallas.
And they created Lilu what they call their identification, their passports. So she's very proud of her multipass. And so she shows it to the lady that's taking the tickets, and she's like, Lilu
multipass.
Lilu Dallas multipass.
And then Korben's like, they know it's a multipass.
So now we are on the ship, and because Korben Dallas won, he is being interviewed by Ruby Rod, who is played by Chris Tucker, and like just he should have won awards for this performance. Like, it is so chaotic and beautiful, and just the rhythm and the timing of how he's speaking and singing and back and forth and kind of telling this story as he goes along, because he is a intergalactic radio host that just hosts a talk show from like 7 to 8 each day or something.
He was live tweeting that bitch way before everybody else.
And just the facial expressions that he had to pull off. Oh my God.
And the outfits. And so Tucker was interviewed, and he revealed that Bruce Willis gave him like a serious case of the nerves. He said that Bruce came up to him the first day of shooting, looked at his outfit and said, "Do you know this could ruin your career?" And then the director yelled action before he had a chance to quit, which great. Glad he didn't.
He probably used all that like nervous energy like into Ruby. He was just so like, oh God, what have I done?
I think he was like, fuck this. If this gonna ruin my career, this is
I'm
gonna
gonna
be the
go
best
for it.
performance of my damn life.
And it was.
He and Bruce, their relationship, the banter and their interactions, I could see them ending up together in the end because he played like a damsel in distress.
Oh my
and
gosh. He was just like, Korben Dallas.
Korben, my man, Korben. You can say more than 2 words. Are we green? Korben, honey. Just so like
over the
dramatic.
top. And I love that he was very feminine, but it had nothing to do with his sexuality. Like everything was just very fluid. He was just very in touch with his feminine side, and it didn't take away from his masculinity either. And then, you know, it was way ahead of its time.
Because you see him hooking up with a flight attendant later on, you know, so he's very much like a ladies.
That scene is so uncomfortable,
It is.
but so perfect. The way it is shot and like the 3 different things that are going on all at the same time. And it culminates with her like getting off. Like I was like, I don't feel good watching it, but this is amazing.
I felt amazing. I think we need more movies that show women getting theirs. Getting this.
Yeah.
There's not enough.
Yeah. I was going to say, I have a fun fact that like that scene where she, you know, everything happens and the plane takes off and you see her kind of like scream, that scream, and I'm probably going to mispronounce it. It's called the Wilhelm scream. And it's like one of the most famous sound effects in like movies or TV, because it's just so like versatile that it goes anywhere. And I think it happens like 2 or 3 times in this movie alone. And I don't know, that fact always stuck with me because it's just so like, you can just throw it in there.
No, I think that's cool. I did not know that. Did you know that, Jackie?
I didn't know it was used in this movie. And it is like, I'll see, because I am notorious for like, as I'm watching a movie, reading the fun facts in IMDb. And so a lot of times it'll know if a Wilhelm scream is used. And like, I can never pick them out. Like as I'm watching a movie, I can never pick it out. But then if someone points it out, I'll be like, oh yeah, it's right there. And it's just because it's blends so beautifully with whatever situation it's being used in that you really don't even notice it, and it doesn't pull you out of the movie.
So is it a sound that they're bringing in, or is it someone emulating that sound?
I think it's just a stock audio file.
Someone screaming.
Yeah.
And during this scene, so, you know, Korben is getting interviewed, and I love that Rod kind of confronts him, but Korben's like, I'm not playing that, and pretty much turns it around, like, you're not a hot shot, you're not going to tell me what the fuck to do. And then after that, Ruby is like his bitch after that. He's like, I love you. I'll do whatever you say.
He was like, I will follow you and to the ends of the earth. Like
he's got all these lackeys around, and he's just like, Korben.
Yeah. And they're like, Ruby, and he's like, no, I'm here with my new best friend Korben.
I also love when like he gets annoyed at someone, he goes, zzz.
I so want to do that to people now.
Very dramatic hand gestures.
Oh, I love it.
So after the interview, Korben and Lilu go to their sleep pods, and it's like almost like one of those, I forget what they call them, one of those motels in Japan where it's literally just like rows and rows of like you climb in and like you just
like
there.
The little cubes they have around town.
I don't think I could do it. I think I would be too claustrophobic. It would make me have like a panic attack.
Well, they just push the button and make you pass out anyway.
Yeah, except, so I wanted to know, did Lilo fall asleep? Because I think he does, but I don't think she does.
I don't think she does, because you see him knock out instantly.
Yeah.
And she's still learning, right?
She's still learning after he tries to mansplain how important this mission is. And she's like, I'm sorry. Are you the supreme being? No, you are not.
I have a plan. We're meeting my friend who
Eye
has the
contact.
stones.
So Ruby is getting his thing on. They're in their pod, and now the priest is trying to figure out how to get on the plane. And I don't know, does he get on the like wheels and climb up?
It looks like the little cargo bay from what they show, you know, like it's the little ramp, and then there's all this like wiring. So I don't know if it was like a cargo bay or just like the spot where like the technicians go to fix the wiring, but he snuck in there. He's sneaky.
He's a man on a mission now.
Yeah.
But that
save
ship,
the world.
I'm not a cruise person, but I would totally go on that ship.
I love how it just looked like Hawaii when they first like land.
Yes.
Like, oh, great. It's Hawaii.
Yeah, there was definitely a Polynesian feel to it. And their outfits. So I was just like, in space, is there still Hawaii, or we've just destroyed the Earth and just made everything? Yeah.
Or is it like in Doctor Who where England had to put all of the UK on the back of a space whale in order to save the planet? Is that what happened? You know, we had to take Hawaii and put it on a cruise ship to save it.
Maybe. I gotta watch some Doctor Who, man.
And then we see after they get their lays, because we're in Hawaii too, apparently, and they're escorted to their suite that they won.
Korben is, and she leaves. She said she's got to go find her friend.
Yes.
So Korben's taken to the suite, which is an amazing suite.
Yeah.
And her friend isn't quite there yet. So she's like hiding behind this pillar, waiting for her friend to show up so that they could have their secret rendezvous.
And Korben asks the person helping him, like, hey, are there any tickets to the Divas show? I'm a big fan. And she's like, oh, because you won the contest, like you already have 2 tickets and you're going with Ruby.
Of course.
And he's like, great.
We're going to meet the Diva, but let's talk about the behind the scenes of the Diva. I think originally they wanted to hire someone else, but it was really hard for them to cast this role. And as a favor, the director's wife played the Diva. And we all know that he falls in love with having his secret language chats with Milla, while his wife so decently decides to help him in a pinch.
Right.
And this role is iconic. Like,
yeah,
when you think about this movie, there's a few scenes you think about, and her entire presence, you think about this person.
Right. Yeah.
I would cut this motherfucker. Not on the set that I'm actually on with you too.
Right. Like, you're going to go behind my back while I'm in this uncomfortable costume with all these prosthetics, and I have to do a techno remix to this opera song. And you're going to do this.
Yeah.
And the song was actually sung by a really famous opera singer, an Albanian, Milla. And because of the range and how it raises and drops, so I don't know musical terms, so raises and drops so quickly, she actually had to sing all the notes in isolation, and then they edited together to create the song.
That's because it gets pretty like it changes so often, and then she immediately has to go low.
Yeah.
And then that's crazy. I was gonna say something when you were talking about like Ruby and his sexuality, and it reminded me of the scene where Ruby's taking Korben around the theater and he's like introducing all the like important people and blah blah blah. And then he points to Ray in his little like lace his white little lace ensemble.
And isn't his hair like white? Everything's like white.
Everything's white. But the ladies love him. And I was also thinking about like what a take on like what traditional masculinity is, because here you have these two characters that are like very effeminate, like presenting, but then they're the most
sought after,
and they're the most desired and most sought after. And I thought that was interesting as well, because you see all the girls around Ray like, oh my god, Ray.
I would have loved for Bruce Willis's character to be on that spectrum as well. He was very, and I don't know if it was just how Bruce was as a person that was like, this is as far as I'll go, or if it was just to have him play off of these other characters being kind of fish out of water situation. I don't know.
Or to have it be such a contrast. You know, because here you have like the traditional man, and then you have like what could be with Ruby and with Ray. I thought that was interesting.
We know damn well that's your boyfriend. Stop playing.
So also a little fun fact about the Diva scene. Obviously, it's a pivotal scene in the movie, and they experienced what they called a Hollywood nightmare. After they had the negatives flown to LA, they were told to come down to the airport, and that's when they saw that they brought in multiple trash cans, and all the negatives had fallen out of the airplane and were essentially run over on the tarmac, and it happened to be the Diva scene.
Oh my god.
And so they were like, fuck, it's ruined. This is our money shot. Like, what the fuck are we gonna do? But the editors were able to salvage the footage, and the audiences never knew that it was almost disaster.
Can you imagine this movie without that scene?
No.
Like,
what?
Because it's so, to set the scene, the Diva comes out. She appears to be like 9 feet tall. She's very blue. She has these tentacle-y things coming out of her head, and she sings this most amazing operatic song. And while she is singing and everyone is enraptured in her performance, Lilu is kicking ass and taking names in the suite, because all of the shit demon guys, Zurg's lackeys, come in and they're fucking trying to capture her and stuff. And so she's like, and they're trying to look for the stones too.
Yeah. So they're like fighting, and like one of them has the case, and then she punches him in the face. She has the case. And I like that, like during this scene, it's one of those other scenes where they're like going back and forth, because it's like the Diva. And then when it switches into the techno mix, then the fighting gets a little more advanced, you know? And then Lilu hits the Matrix pose behind me before the Matrix came out, because I Googled it and I was like, oh, she hit it before Neo did. Look at her. And of course,
there's always a woman, a man stealing a woman's thunder. So yes, and so then the culmination is like Lilu is kicked everyone's asses, like walks out of the room. Or no, does she go up into the ceiling?
She goes into the ceiling, yes, because Zorg shows up. And I really liked that they let her have her moment, because up until this point, everybody's just talking about how great she is, and she's the supreme being, and she's perfect, and she's this and that. But she actually has a chance to be like, I'm gonna kick some ass, because this is what I do, you know? So I really appreciated that.
And then at the same time, what happens in the opera?
So the Mangalores decide that they want to take over the ship, because they are angry that Zorg betrayed them. So they're like, if he wants a war, we're going to give him a war. And so they invade. And I just said, chaos everywhere. The Diva is shot and falls dramatically to the ground.
And so,
and Ruby is losing his mind.
Yes. Ruby, not great in a stressful situation.
Broadcasting the entire attack.
He is live tweeting that bitch.
So Korben goes into military training. Army crawls over to the Diva. She tells him the stones are inside of me. And so Korben's
he doesn't get it at first.
He's like,
no,
I'm sorry, what?
Like, is this metaphoric? Like
the power was within me the whole time. Yeah. Like, what?
And then he's like, fuck, I gotta cut this alien bitch open. And so
Gotta cut this bitch, man.
so he cuts her open and like fishes around in her like blue goo guts
Yeah.
and fishes out the 4 stones. These are not small stones. They're
I was
like,
gonna say she is a petite diva.
yes.
So, like, where did all of that fit inside of her body?
How did they get it in her?
Like, what
Was it
Did
surgery?
did it go up or did it go down?
Or
I
was
hope
it
they
like,
cut
did they
her
shrink
open
it?
to put it in? I don't
they-
know.
Was it magic like the chicken?
Like the chicken?
Maybe
Who
it was
knows?
like Ray, like I can take a Ray
knows?
gun
It's-
and
More questions that I
Yeah.
don't have answers for.
So now Korben has the stones. What does he do with them? Because I mean, they're not little.
He like, there's like
Oh.
a cloth, and he like wraps them up, in,
and he
like, a
gives it
bundle.
to Ruby.
Yes, you're right. He gives it to
So
Ruby.
Ruby's in charge of the stones now.
The most
Yeah.
precious pieces
Like,
of
Korben,
artifacts.
Korben,
man.
they're coming. And he makes noise. That's why the indigenous aliens come back.
Yes,
Because
because
they were
Ruby's
about
all
to
like,
leave.
yeah, and Ruby's throwing a fit, and he's like, I'm in the first row, and causing a scene. So then, yeah, the one guy, the other Mangalore comes, and then Korben has to disarm him, and then he's like laying on the ground. And why does he do this? He's like, Ruby, hold this gun to this guy's head.
Yeah. And Ruby's like, I am not up for this. Hard pass.
No, thank you.
I'm a lover, not a fighter. Korben, my man. I don't know what a gun is.
And this whole time we've got Lilu in the vents,
Mm-hmm.
got crazy Jack the Ripper, Gary Oldman trying to shoot up shit.
Yep.
Then now they're gonna have to fight their way out of all of this. It's pandemonium all the way. And we're getting into the scene where we're gonna have huge fight scene, and it's the biggest hall explosion and the largest indoor explosion ever filmed at that time. I'm sure we've beat it at this point, but yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It was a fairly big explosion
Yeah.
that happens.
I'm glad no
So-
one got hurt.
So Korben yells Ruby's name. He's very jumpy. He scares easy. And so he goes, oh, and then like shoots the Mangalore that he has like the gun
In the
up
head.
against his head. And so then shit
Yeah.
goes sideways. They go into a dining hall area or like a rec room because there's a pool table.
something, or maybe like a casino area or something. Because I think
Yes.
there's like a roulette
Roulette,
wheel or something. Yeah.
And so, and it's 2 levels. It's like almost like a balcony around the top and then like the lower area.
Mhm.
And so Korben's just kicking ass and Ruby just keeps hiding behind shit and still live tweeting the whole time. And next.
I really feel for these aliens because, and it's not me falling for the villain, but what's happened is that they've just been pushed out of where they're supposed to be,
Mhm.
and they're fighting for every inch they can, and nobody seems to give a shit, and people keep mistreating them left and right.
I do get that, because it's like Zorg treats them like they're scum, right? Like he
Yeah.
uses them as pawns. It's easy for him to like dispose of the two, like by setting off the bomb in the airport. And then it's like, oh, you want the guns? Fine. I'm going to make the guns explode so that you're not, so it's, they're being taken advantage of.
And the airport, the way that they even classify, like the fact that they have alerts that go off for these aliens to notify that, and their directive is to kill them.
So then we see there's a lot more fighting. Somehow Ruby is now up on the second balcony and Korben's like, stay real still. And he like shoots a hole. And so then Ruby falls down to the first level and Ruby's
All
like
screaming.
losing his goddamn mind.
He didn't sign up for this. He
No.
signed up to live tweet a show.
And hook up with some ladies.
Yes. some stewardesses.
Yes. Oh, I have a fun fact about that.
Oh, yes.
There was one episode, Danielle, where you were talking about Britney Spears's toxic flight attendant outfit, and you made the comment like, I'm pretty sure that's inspired. And I was like, okay, I wonder if Jean Paul Gaultier like designed that as well. It wasn't. It was a designer named Jeremy Scott that designed Britney's outfit, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure there was inspiration taken from.
There had to have been.
There had to be. Yeah. But I looked it up. I was like, I wonder if that was it. Like if they got the same designer for the toxic video. They did not.
I think it 100% had to be inspired. I did make a post that had the two pictures to compare, and they look very similar.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That was just, I forgot about that.
Well, I'm glad you found out. I made the post because I was just like, they look similar to me. And then I just
did no research.
None. It was live.
I did the research. It was a quick Google search. It was fine. I was like,
So essentially, Korben takes everyone out. Ruby is very proud. It's the best show he's ever done.
Yes. I love how Ruby's people, like entourage, they keep searching for Ruby, but they're like, Miss Ruby. They call him Miss Ruby. I don't know if that came through, but I was like, that's so like great, because they're just like, Miss Ruby. And you know, it's like just another thing to be like, yeah, it's,
I love that
they can be Miss Ruby and still be desired by all the women, you know.
I thought it was great that his friends were ride or die. They did not leave him.
Yeah, they just kept searching. Once everybody was together, they were like, where is he?
Jackie, if I get tangled up with Korben Dallas and you're not fucking looking for me as hard as those two.
Danielle, I told you my policy a long time ago. One punch and I'm out.
Yeah. So this is after Korben negotiates with the Mangalores, right? Because there's like a hostage situation, right?
Yes. So they send someone in to negotiate. So Korben comes in and he figures out like, essentially there's always just one person they're always looking towards. And if that one person is taken out, then the rest of them will kind of,
they'll fall back,
complete the mission.
Yeah.
And so Korben figures out who that one guy is and goes in and takes him out. And so now they have been disarmed.
Yes.
Like they are a peaceful being now.
And one thing that we forgot to say was that before the diva died, she must have foresight or psychic abilities. She told Korben that Lilu needed him and that she was going to be in trouble. And I don't know if she said she was going to be dying or die or something like that.
Yeah, she gives him this speech of how Lilu is like more fragile than she appears.
Yeah.
So after he handles this situation, he's got to go find his gal.
Yep.
And of course, he sees the priest who's all wrapped up in this kidnapping situation. He's still alive. And so then they go back to the diva's room and they find Lilu. She is injured and hurt. At this point, Gary Oldman's character is on his plane thinking that he finally has the damn stones. Again, you didn't check the bag, the box or whatever. Like, didn't you learn from the last time? So he's halfway out of Dodge and he has to turn back around.
Yep.
Idiot.
So he turns around, and then is this when he sets the bomb to go off, or has he had already set that?
He set the bomb already. Now he's gonna come back and then he's gotta turn the bomb off.
Yeah.
But there's a twist. There's another bomb.
The aliens got the last laugh.
Yes, they sought their revenge, and he was not able to disarm the bomb. And so he kind of is standing there and says, oh no, and then gets blown up.
Yep.
and we're seeing it's like the Titanic. Everyone has their little escape boats and they're evacuating.
I made a note here and I was like, at least this ship had enough escape pods for everyone, unlike another ship we know about. So I wrote it in my notes.
Let the bitch sink.
They learned from the Titanic to do better this time. Thank God.
We see Korben and the priest and Lilu and Ruby like narrowly escaping the explosion. And so they head back to, do they go to the president ship or they go back to Earth?
They go back to Earth. Yeah, they're running out of time too.
Yes,
because
that's right.
The pie is getting real big now, and the Federation is freaking out. They have tapped in and called Korben on the flight, and they're like, "Bitch, we about to die."
They're like, "You have 1 hour."
Yes, yes, because the president likes to give real times.
Yeah, real specific. It's gonna let you know. So Korben's like, "All right, bet. Like, I guess we're gonna do our best," and we're going to Egypt.
Korben pretty much was just like, I'm doing the best that I fucking can. I need
y'all haven't given me a lot.
Yeah.
It's been a very eventful day. I've fallen in love. I've gone on a cruise. I've been shot at. I've dug around in this blue lady's stomach for these stones. I have a new best friend. His name is Ruby. The girl I love is now dying, and now I have to save the earth. Like, it's been a full day.
So he's like, I never wanted to be here.
I did not sign up for this. I'm retired, bitch.
I wasn't even supposed to be here today.
And now they're in Egypt. They're back at the tomb that we saw in the beginning of the movie. And now everyone is trying to figure out how to make the element stones work.
Just prior to this, Lilu is still, even though she's injured, she's like still reading her Encyclopedia Britannica, and she gets to W and she learns all about war and human destruction and things like that. And so she's kind of like, well, maybe I don't want to save.
Let the bitch sink.
Like, she's very much on that team. She's like, I don't know about this. You guys are kind of trash.
Yeah.
Like, look what you do to yourselves.
Yeah.
Constantly.
So now so while she's having this like existential crisis, they figure out how to place all the stones on the pillars in the pyramid, but nothing's happening. They're like, ta-da! And they're like,
and then Lilu is catatonic, and so she's just like speaking in riddles at this point.
Yes.
He's like, bitch, wake up.
Like, you're not helping right now.
Help us, please. And then David is like, come on, or something, and like breathes on his stone, which happens to be the air stone, and it like opens up.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know what I did. And so they're all like trying to talk to their stones and nothing's happening. And then it clicks for Korben, like, oh, it's the elements.
Right.
So
it's what Lilu said, because she was like, wind blows and fire burns. And they're like, what are you saying right now?
and Ruby's like, Korben, I don't have a lighter, letting it on fire.
And then he goes to the priest. He's like, Father, you smoke? I don't smoke. If I would have known, I would have had matches. Korben, my man, I have no fire.
And Korben has one match, and they're all like
bated breath, freaking the fuck out. I tell you this, if the world was in my hand on me lighting a match, we would be
you
dead.
Would sneeze.
No, it's not even that. I can't light matches well. I will go through 4 or 5 of the bitches before, and then I get nervous because they never lit. And so when I finally get one that does, I light all the other ones so I could blow it out and say, okay, now they won't start a fire in the garbage can. That's my logic.
So luckily, Korben is able to heat up the last stone. They all do their magic, and the fifth element is Lilu, not just Lilu, but like love. And so someone needs to love and take care of Lilu, which was probably, I'm assuming, what the Diva was alluding to. Like,
right.
she needs to feel like she's going to be taken care of because she has the burden of the world on her.
Why speak in riddles then? These are your last breath. Why not say that? Why we gotta go through all of this? I can't.
You know,
It's because it's magical and mythical.
magic, and it's, you know, your brain is probably doing some weird stuff when you're dying, so you can't really be
Probably.
like super articulate.
Oh,
Or,
she
like,
was
to the
smart
point.
enough to be saying riddles and shit.
She's still not about it. She's like, what's the point? Y'all suck.
And then Korben, just like a man, bitch, we got like 2 seconds left.
Yeah.
Tell that bitch you love her. What are
Yeah.
you doing?
There's a giant burnt pie in the sky. Like,
Yeah.
where is this to go?
And so, like, he's literally sitting there and she says, "What's the use of saving life? I see what you do with it." And he said, "Love is always worth saving," but like won't actually tell her, "Bitch, I love you." And so she says, "I don't know love." Like, what more do you
Do you
need,
need?
Corbin?
And she's
Just
crying
say
and
it. Yeah.
she's so distraught. And this man,
just
And
just
she's
because
like,
his friends are watching.
and then to like lay it on real thick, she was like, "I was built to protect, not to love."
She's like flailing. in his
Yeah.
arms. She needed a good fainting couch for that.
She
Yeah.
did.
You know?
And so he finally tells her he loves her. The countdown begins from 10, and now they're making out in the middle of the elements. And the burnt pie in the sky is dead. It's destroyed because the fifth element of love saved the universe. And then the stones close
Mhm.
up because their job here is done.
So do we have to do this again in 5,000 years?
That's what I'm thinking. Because the whole point is like every 5,000 years, we got to be ready.
But like that whole race of aliens that were protecting and doing all the things, the armadillos, they did. Who's gonna carry on?
A lot of them are dead. I don't know if the whole race was dead, but that's the way like I always think about it. It's kind of like in Zelda, how like every 10,000 years you just have to fight Ganon again. It's just kind of a thing that's gonna happen, you know?
That's a thing.
It's just
Well,
a thing.
but then it's like, so does Lilu have to find someone to love every 5,000 years, I guess?
Is it
Probably.
Lilu, or is she having kids, or are they creating another being? Does she live that long? Does she age? I got questions.
I
or
read
is it-
somewhere that she was cloned, like her original, whoever she was before, they took a clone of her, and that's the Lilu now. So she's pretty much like immortal like us. So good luck, Bruce Willis. Like you're gonna die one day.
I know, and she has to live on. And then what if
Yeah.
she's pining for you and is like, there will be no other Korben Dallas multipass? And then she's like, no, I refuse to love in 5,000 years. And then like
Yeah.
just the whole universe implodes with
I
the burnt pie
doubt
in the
it.
sky.
You are not going 5,000 years without good dick. You're gonna find love again.
Well, she could find some good vagina too. You don't
No.
know.
Fine, you're right. I'm
doesn't
just, you're
discriminate.
absolutely positively right. And she could find alien Punan. She could,
Mhm.
that weird elephant thing might have been a sexual toy. I don't know. Whatever her preferences.
The Balchinians from
Yeah.
Men in Black.
Yeah. She's got options.
She does, because she is the supreme being.
Right.
And she's perfect, as
She is
everyone has told
perfect.
us.
All right, ladies. So we did it. We made it through the fifth element. So next up, Laura, what is your rating for now for 2022?
Oh, it is 100% a would buy it again. I love this movie. I have it on Blu-ray. We bought it again to watch it so I could take more detailed notes. So like I'm all about it. I have the tattoo. Like I'm set. Like this is my jam.
And Jackie?
Would buy it again. I own it on iTunes. It's one of Ken's favorite movies and probably a tie for first of his favorite score / soundtrack, the other being Pride and Prejudice, because we know Ken. but he loves this movie and he has fallen asleep to the soundtrack so often that like when we put it on and it was later in the evening, immediately passed out. It's just like his lullaby to go to sleep is The Fifth Element.
My rating stays the same. It's still a 5-day rental. I do not own it. And after all these years, I remember watching it a lot when I was younger, but I haven't had the inkling to say, oh, I want to sit down and watch The Fifth Element. And after rewatching it and being confused, I think I'm good. If it comes on again, I might watch it, but I didn't hate it, but it's not going to be something I'll watch a lot. And also the man, the director bothers me. So
yeah.
So let's get into some of the fun facts that we missed really quickly.
Elizabeth Berkley also auditioned for the part of Lulu. She did not get it.
I could not. I can't.
No.
Sorry, Jesse. I'm not excited about that option at all.
Mm-mm.
Leon the Professional helped the movie get made. So he obviously, this is his lifelong project. He's been writing it since he was 16, but he couldn't get the funding. And so he had to do The Professional first. And it was so successful that they finally were able to say, okay, no problemo. You got it. Movie is yours.
And then 2 hours after reading the movie script, Bruce Willis agreed to take a reduced salary up front and instead opt for a percentage of the film's profits. Bravo, Bruce Willis. Bravo.
Smart. Saw more than Mel Gibson for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you were wondering why Lilo's kicks were so high, bitch had a fake leg. That's why. An artificial leg was used for her high kicks. Very smart.
The director and Jovovich were married in 1997, but divorced 2 years later.
I wonder why.
No.
Not surprised.
And then lastly, for production design, the director recruited French comic book artist Jean Mobius Girard and Claude Mézières. Oh, I butchered that. I apologize, Jean-Claude.
Sorry to our French listeners. We apologize. All right. Well, Laura, we appreciate you. We're so glad that you joined us. Did you have fun?
Oh my God, this was so much fun. Ever since Jackie gave me permission to be on the show, I've been thinking about it. I was like, I got to do research and I got to have good notes and I'm going to do this. So it was just so much fun. And I hope I get to come back.
Absolutely.
Well, if you guys have any hard opinions on our hard opinions, hit us up on social media at No More Late Fees on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And if you would like to share your opinions vocally, Jackie, how can they reach out to us?
You can leave us a message at the Quick Drop 909-601-6653, 909-601 and MLF. Leave us some feedback, suggest future movies. Tell us what you liked or disliked. Give us some corrections. Heather's really good at that. Blockbuster video stories, favorite moments, and more. And you can be featured on a future episode.
Do you think more people should listen to the show? We do too. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify, and it will really help us reach new listeners. I just want to give a really quick shout out to one of our Alumna Potty friends for being just so generous and featuring us on their show. Robbie, what's up, Robbie? Just want to say thank you so much. Check out Conversations with Robbie on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. It's a great show, and we are just so thankful for our pod pals. And if you want to see more clips and behind the scenes fun things on what's going on in the show, how else can they do that, Jack?
Sign up to be a Patreon bestie like Laura at patreon.com/no more late fees. You can receive exclusive content, stickers, Ask Me Anythings, polls, bonus videos, live Spotify playlists, and more. So hop on over to Patreon and join one of our tiers.
And stay tuned for next week because we're heading to the altar with the best man. I'm very excited.
This will be our introduction to our month of February, where we will be showcasing different movies.
It's about to be blackity black, bitches. Jackie was being sweet, but I'm telling you, it's all black. All
Black History Month. So we're going to honor it.
We're just going to do some fun movies that show some good representation and just have some fun. So stay tuned.
And as always, be kind and rewind.
The 1990s, my very favorite decade, especially for music. This is Dope Nostalgia, and I'm your host, Naomi Carmack. And every week, we revisit the era that brought us Hammer Pants, Crystal Pepsi, Pogs, Hypercolor, Pokemon, and some of the greatest songs of all time. On Dope Nostalgia, not only do I have episodes where I talk about the big artists of the 90s with friends, but sometimes those big artists come on the show. Past guests include Naughty by Nature, George Lamond, Alana Miles, Color Me Bad, Biff Naked, Ed the Sock, Shakespeare's Sister, Two Unlimited, The Funky Bunch, Technotronic, Rosala, Tara Kemp, Mr. Big, Honeymoon Suite, Right Said Fred, and so many more. You can always leave us a voicemail and tell us what you think, and we'll play it on the show. 780-851-8785. Dope Nostalgia, a podcast made for 90s kids like me. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Podbean, Stitcher, and wherever podcasts are served.